need something?
Back at the dining hall, plates of wraithwing egg omelet were lined up on a table, wafting forth irresistible aroma.
Is that really for us?
At my nod, Al dug in.
Ow! Oh, burnt my tongue. But, so good.
I love it!
Muffled voices caught my attention, and I looked out the window to see a gathering crowd. Though I had only collected a basket of the famed eggs, it seemed that was enough to feed the whole city.
Hey, Al. Heard from your sister. Sorry, I should have noticed you were working yourself to the bone.
A man who seemed to be in charge of reconstruction efforts came to our table. Gently, he explained that he had only now been made aware of Al's failing health. He vowed to encourage the workers to rest, so no one would overexert themselves ever again.
Al, you okay, bud? You don't look so good.
Vern, who had been flitting carefree through the air, came to a sudden stop. I smiled at his concern, which was well-meaning but misplaced. Al was going to be fine now. It was time for a celebration, and I had the perfect surprise planned. Their reactions are going to be priceless. A light dessert is the perfect way to top off a hearty meal. Stealing my way into the kitchen, I cooked up an original dish using spare ingredients and imagination. When I unveiled my creation, the crew gulped in what I assume was anticipation. The people of Folka, however, were more vocal with their excitement.
You're saying that the very hand that defeated the Wraithwing made this dessert?
Is there anything she can't do?
It was enough to make me blush. But, if I may be so bold, I don't think their praise was unearned. My dish was wholly unique in its shape, color, and smell.
Catalina, this is amazing! I've never tasted anything like it before.
Encouraged by Lyria, every last diner snatched up their spoons. Hungrily, they lifted a bite to their lips. And the moment right after, as if someone had captured the scene in a painting, they all froze. There are times when people are so filled to the brim with emotion, not even the smallest physical movement is possible. For the diners, this was apparently one of those times. It seems I'm not such a bad chef after all. Take that, naysayers.
Clear blue skies, gentle breeze. It was perfect conditions for the Nautilus's maiden voyage. As the helmsman gripped the wheel, I knew he was no longer shackled by fear. Kent, the mechanic, the merchant, even Lyria, Vern, and some of our other crewmates. Actually, damn near the whole town showed up to witness the rebirth of an old friend. As the propellers began to churn, a metallic sputter sounded from somewhere below deck. It was a symphony of gears I'd heard time and time again. That mechanic, she'd done it. After a brief checkup, they started the countdown. Tension was palpable. Come on, Nautilus. All eyes were on the airship. No one dared to breathe. A wind whipped up around the Nautilus, and there it was. Liftoff. And once again, she sailed into those skies so blue. A few weeks had passed since the Nautilus took its maiden voyage. According to Kent, the Nautilus was now Folka's leading cargo ship. Makes sense, given that it was 3 times faster than any other ship on the island. And not only that, but it seemed Kent had found himself a new dream already.
Okay, picture this, Rackham. 3 ships conjoined into one massive cruise liner. See? All we need to do is reconstruct these columns here and...
I wonder if I sounded that crazy to the others whenever I got my big ideas. Anyway, such a massive ship would require at least 3 helmsmen. So in his effort to make the cruise liner a reality, Kent started studying how to be a helmsman himself. But if Kent were to be the second pilot, who would be the third?
About that, actually, we'd be honored to have you as the lead helmsman of our ship.
Of course. It was a kind offer, but I already had a family in my crew and a home in the Grand Cipher. But that didn't mean I couldn't let the kid down easy. Sorry, Kent. This Skyfarer's not old enough to set anchor just yet. Until that day comes, you can find me wherever the wind blows.
The day had arrived for Lev to show his parents the magic trick he learned from me. Was he going to be able to pull it off? I had to see for myself, so I followed them to a restaurant in town and sat at a nearby table. Somehow just watching was enough to make me nervous too.
I want to show you something.
Come on, you can do this! It's all about sleight of hand, remember? Lev showed his parents the palm of his empty hand and covered it with a handkerchief. Then he removed the cloth just like I taught him. But when he opened his hand, there was nothing there. I thought he must have made a mistake, but it turned out I was wrong.
I learned this trick so I could make others smile. You're actually supposed to have a present in your hand when you open it, but I couldn't think of what to give you.
Unable to hold in the tears any longer, Lev started to cry.
You both have done so much for me. I just couldn't find anything good enough.
He wiped away his tears with the back of his hand, his voice quavering slightly as he fought to get the words out.
I'm really sorry for running off and scaring you guys. But I was worried, 'cause you're always so busy. It hurt when you wouldn't listen to me, and I've been so lonely. Tried not to let it get to me, but it just ended up being too much.
We're sorry too, Lev. But don't worry. Soon we won't be as swamped anymore. There's supposed to be a big group moving to Folka from Seed Hollow soon. I hear at least one of them's a doctor.
Once things have settled down, we'll all spend some quality time together. I'd love to go shopping in Seed Hollow as a family. That sort of thing. You'd like that too, right, dear?
Of course. As long as we decide on a budget beforehand.
Way to go, Lev! Seeing them all smiling together like that reminded me of Master Sokka for some reason. Once we're back in Fanta Grande, I think I'll pay a visit to Vaults and tell him all about this little adventure. Sometime later, a brand new clinic was built in Folka. Apparently, the people of Tempule and Folka had chipped in to pay for it. A doctor really did move in from Seed Hollow, too, so Lev's parents were finally able to make more time for their son.
I'm gonna be a great doctor one day. I'll work super hard so I can give you a real present. Just you wait and see.
With an attitude like that, I have no doubt he'll make an amazing doctor. And besides, now he has my patented magic trick to put smiles on everyone's faces. When I peeked inside the clinic on one of our days off, I saw Lev chatting happily with the people of Folka. I'm sure this town will keep prospering even after we leave. The people here are tough. They'll overcome any hardship that comes their way. And that's what I believe anyway. After seeing the smile on Lev's face, how could I think otherwise?
We came to a quiet clearing in the forest, devoid of any beasts. The only other presence besides us was a crisp breeze. Shafts of sunlight peeked through the trees that shaded the garden. I felt my breath catch in my throat as I took in the sight. Purple anemones bloomed, filling the entire clearing. Just looking at them, I could feel the tension drain from my body.
That's it. These are the flowers she talked about.
Karzada opened the notebook. Flipping through its pages, he came to the section on anemones. Tears spilled down his cheeks as he read her notes.
I see. So that's what she was trying to tell me.
After a while, he pulled himself together and turned to me.
Thank you for everything.
I saw it through his tears and heard it trembling on his voice, a fledgling seed of hope.
If you hadn't come when you did, well, I never would have known what she wanted to tell me.
He smiled, a pure expression devoid of the previous darkness.
She dreamed of a Tempule blooming with flowers, and I'll carry the torch. I'll make sure her dreams come true.
Glad to hear it. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other and you'll be fine. Karzada placed a hand over his heart and closed his eyes, as though speaking to his beloved. Or maybe he was burning the sight of this garden in his mind's eye. Our time together came to an end, but I felt as if the storm clouds were truly gone, and in its place was a clear blue sky. Maybe part of the reason I was drawn to Karzada is that I could sense that we shared something important. We both had regrets weighing us down. We made our share of mistakes. Still, there's no turning back time. All we can do is keep marching forward. Now that I think about it, just as I was there for Karzada, there were a lot of people propping me up on my journey. I owe all those people my thanks. It's because of them that I stand here today.
Dear Eugen, I can't thank you enough for everything you've done. Every now and then I hear news about you and your crew. I'm glad to hear you're doing well. I was finally able to get licensed as a full-fledged jeweler in Folka. I started creating pieces based on those purple anemones we saw. People love them. I can't make them fast enough to keep up with the demand. The proceeds from the sales go to organizations working to restore Tempule to its former glory. Once we can go back home, I plan to create a large garden, just as she would have wanted. The promise we made as kids can't be fulfilled, but I plan to keep the promise I made to myself. I'll do it to bring her dream to life. P.S. I never did tell you what those purple anemones symbolize. According to her notebook, they mean, I believe in you. I'll wait for you. The next time you're in Folka, look me up. Until then, please take this pressed flower as a token of my gratitude.
Before I could share this revelation, there was something else I needed to discuss with the crew. Not about Konohana Sakuya, but my time spent with the captain's father. His crew was on a journey to collect Astrum fragments. These fragments were said to have fallen straight from the astral realm and contained the power of the primal beasts themselves. Using the fragments, the captain's father could separate astral power embedded within primal beasts and return them to their original forms. That was the purpose of his journey. His was a mission of liberation, to free so-called deities and legends who were tethered to the sky realm. Once free from the shackles of their corporeal forms, they could fade back into the nebulous ideas and faiths that had given them structure in the first place. Of course, it would be up to the primal beasts themselves to make this decision. Some had grown quite fond of living in the sky realm. However, there were countless others who were born into the skies, cursed to fight for eternity. These were the ones who longed for a return to the immaterial. At the lowest point in my existence, when I felt I had no purpose in these skies, I'm sure I felt the same. Regardless, some were quick to brand us a ruthless crew of primal hunters. And surely Konohana Sakuya had heard the rumors. But the question remained, why had she decided to reveal herself to me now? Unfortunately, simply knowing the identity of the girl would not solve the problem of her many phantom appearances.
So, is this, Kahuna Yakuza? You think she's the one causing the monsters to come out?
Unlikely. I've never met her in person, but I don't think she and the ominous forms are connected in the slightest.
Yo, got some new intel on the girl. You're still, working the case, right?
The family Zathba had been continuing to search for clues in the background, and thankfully, their search bore fruit. In one of the areas where the ghostly girl was sighted, a bystander had found an ancient book.
Broke my brain trying to read the dumb thing, but you're smart and pretty smart and, well, yeah.
Oh, poor boy couldn't even get his words straight. Thank you. You're quite the gentleman.
No, I'm not. I'm a badass. Anyway, I should get going.
He had barely placed the book in my hands before scurrying off. What had gotten into him, I wonder? I opened the book and peered through the rune-like characters inside. No normal person would be able to decipher this.
Oh, that looks really complicated. Really? Let me see.
When Vern approached the book, Roland's transceiver began to glow. It illuminated the text, somehow morphing the illegible script into something readable. My breath caught in my chest. Had an astral authored this book?
Let's do it!
What are we waiting for?
You can depend on me.
The text seemed to be a log from an experiment of sorts. Although it was barely legible, I tried to grasp its meaning. Originally, it was Excavalion, primal beast of fortification, who forged a pact with Almarine Island. Although it's unclear why, Excavalion would eventually migrate to Dali, leaving Konohana Sakuya to take its place on Almarine. That was all I could make out of the texts. With this new information, I needed to re-examine the facts. First, the stage. Almarine Island, home to Seed Hollow and its citizens, once protected by Excavalion. Next, a curious switch. Konohana Sakuya takes its place as the island's pact-bound primal. Now, our present mysteries. A crystal shard replete with Excavalin's aura. On Graminu's altar beneath the castle, the ominous forms. And finally, Konohana Sakuya's curious reappearance. Think, Rosetta. Was the shard left behind by Excavalion? Did it serve a purpose in protecting the island? It was possible that Avia's invasion of Seed Hollow destroyed this mechanism, causing the Primal to reveal herself in defense.
Now that I think about it, the ghost rumors started to pop up only after that crystal beneath the castle was destroyed.
So, it was all connected. There's no time to explain, but more ominous forms will appear if we don't repair this island's defense system. Where could we find another fortifying crystal?
How about Dolly? That's where Excavalion lives now, right? Maybe it's got a spare lying around.
Indeed. If we were to find a solution to our problems, it would be buried beneath those churning sands. If I'm not mistaken, we should come across a Guardian Crystal not too far from here. Let's take a look around those hills. Do you remember where we fought that griffin? Oops. Didn't mean to wake you. Mind letting us pass through?
Hold steady!
Not quite the crystal we're looking for. A wild monster's den. I'd like to avoid needless bloodshed if possible.
It's over!
Hot enough for armor break! Been saving this one!
Duh, that ain't it. I don't think we're in the right place. Let's try to hit up that hilly area. Nothing this way either, huh? Nothing this way either, huh? Nothing this way either, huh?
Did we find it?
Excavalion. It's faint, but I can feel it.
Ah! A cobra! It must have been waiting to strike!
It seems words won't work here. Get ready, everyone.
Yeah.
You want more. Careful. Don't let it strike you with venom. Welcome to my garden. There now. Let none escape. Let's go all out next time, shall we?
You got it. I'll be right there.
Back to it. Now then, where were we?
Wow, we did it! Let's take this crystal back to Seed Hollow.
Come and get me. Shortly after securing a crystal from Dolly, we returned to Seed Hollow Castle. We installed the new crystal beneath the castle, causing a pale green light to illuminate the area. It was the familiar aura of hallowed ground, sure to repel any lingering ominous forms.
It's too bad we couldn't meet her. Konohana Sakuya.
The mystery had been solved on nearly all fronts. I'd be lying if I said I was completely satisfied, however. After all was said and done, I still didn't get the opportunity to clear the air with her.
Good day.
Peace returned to Seed Hollow, and it was soon back to the usual hustle and bustle. I informed the frightened repairman of the girl's true identity, the primeval god of Seed Hollow.
A primeval god? Holy macaroni! That's a spicy nugget of news. How do you manage to stay so charming and informed?
A lady never reveals her secrets.
It's a little sad that you couldn't meet Konohana Sakuya. I know you wanted to apologize to her.
I knew, somewhere deep down, that talking with her wouldn't bring back all the journeys I had with the captain's father. However, seeing all the blooming flowers across the city, it almost felt as if she was acknowledging me anyway. I may well have imagined it, but call it something of a mutual understanding between distant sisters. After the vibrant patchwork of spring began to spread throughout Seed Hollow, I made a habit of taking a daily stroll around the city. On one of my walks, I had mindlessly put the crystal fragment in my dress. After arriving at a particularly sunny spot, I took it out to admire it. Something about it was different today. Instead of my usual reflection, if not only for a brief second, I saw a smile that wasn't my own. A girl in a flower crown. Our eyes met for a second before, pop! A single rose had materialized at my feet. When I looked back into the fragment, she was nowhere to be seen. Although I can't prove it, I know that she was here, listening to me. So I whispered, "Beautiful. This city has blossomed under your care, all while blooming in your own right. You deserve to be here."
During the next month's visit, Malfira looked more downtrodden than I had ever seen. Vern expressed his distress before I could vocalize my own.
Holy spools, lady! You look like you've been up all night. You feeling okay?
Malfira meekly raised her head, barely affording him a grin.
My love, he didn't come back to me.
It took me a moment to find a response. I'm sure... I bet he'll find a way to return next month. She had already been waiting an eternity for him. What comfort were my words? And yet, she still found the strength to smile.
I hope so. I'm so tired of moping around like this. It's getting harder to stay positive, but I'll find a way, for his sake. That man. You know, he's so absent-minded, he probably mixed up the date on his ticket.
Malfira unrolled the blanket across her lap, checking the backing of her stitching.
I've poured a lot of love into this design. I hope he likes it.
As she vacillated from melancholy to forced cheer, and back again, I had to bite my lip for fear my thoughts would spill out. One month passed, and still no word from Malfira's beloved.
I'm sure he has his reasons.
Lyria tried to comfort the young seamstress, but Malfira's smile was noticeably dimmer than before.
Yes, you're right. He's not one to take risks or push himself too far. There's nothing to worry about, I'm sure.
Her words sounded strained, like she was trying to convince herself. I thought I knew what was happening, but I couldn't bring myself to acknowledge it. Not yet. We were all stuck in awkward silence, so I changed the subject.
How did you two meet?
It was in this very plaza. He was a bookworm, so he came here to do his reading. I was out catching some sun myself when he found the courage to sit next to me. I turned to greet him and he shoved a book on embroidery in my face. Not the greatest first impression, huh?
Energy returned to her movements. Color returned to her smile.
So what did you do?
You're going to laugh. I told him I already owned the book. His face turned pale as a ghost, but it was cute, seeing him all vulnerable. So I asked his name, and the rest is history.
She shut her eyes, savoring the nostalgia. Then she sighed.
Guess I'll have to go to Dolly and drag him home myself, won't I?
No, not that. I couldn't let her go to Dolly alone. After witnessing her optimism return, I couldn't let her learn the truth.
You have chosen well.
I compliment any bouquet.
I see you have need for a great warrior.
No, you should stay here. We'll go for you. Dolly can be a dangerous place, and I'm sure your partner wouldn't want anything to happen to you. I hoped that logic would be enough.
Dolly? Dangerous? But so many people live there. But if a sky-faring crew is offering their services, who am I to deny professionals?
Vern scrunched his face in confusion.
Lots of people? What are you talking about? Dolly's basically a giant sand...
A quick nudge was enough to interrupt Vern. I hoped Malfira had missed the majority of his comment. You can trust us. We handle this kind of assignment all the time. We'll be back before you know it.
Okay, let's do it.
My air of confidence, false though it was, seemed to bring her welcome relief.
Could you take the blanket with you? I wanted to give it to him myself, but I know he's probably already spent weeks freezing at night, and it won't do me any good here.
She pushed a soft bundle into my hands. It was warm to the touch, thanks to the silk from Fondom, but it was also warm to the soul, thanks to the love and care that Malfira put into every stitch. Of course, it would be my pleasure. Everyone, to the fight! According to Malfira's map, the excavation was near the central ruins.
You sure you want to trust that dusty old thing?
Point taken. But we can at least get a sense for the lay of the land. Now let's go. This place is crawling with monsters. Stay on your toes, everyone.
Beautiful, Arthur. Can you satisfy me?
Now, everybody! Stay dead!
Ready for action.
Hard
Making this difficult. Right? You know what to do.
Well?
Come, Crimson Thorn!
Don't get cute!
Clean this place up so we can start our search! Lights out!
Don't get cute!
Full bloom!
Fuji! Nicola! It doesn't look like anything's here. Maybe we'll find something back at the western campsite. It's worth a look.
Do these guys get paid to fight us or what?
We'll handle them. I'm starting to get restless. Come on, let's hurry. Gigi, help! Lights out! This place feels right somehow.
over there!
Let's go!
Where'd that dude from before go?
I think I know. No, it can't be. I'm afraid so. He's no longer with us, but we've at least found his resting place. That's some comfort. What? No! That's impossible! We all stood before a grave, created 15 years ago in the wake of a terrible calamity. Carved on the back were the names of the deceased. And there, in the middle of them all, was the name of Malfira's beloved. I wrapped the blanket around the stone, tying it securely so the harsh desert environs wouldn't steal it, like it stole the lives of these scholars. Maybe it would at least keep their memory warm. Malfira put her heart and soul into this blanket. Take care of it, okay?
Need something?
When I returned to Seed Hollow, Malfira's voice was shaky.
Is he okay?
I couldn't face her as I struggled out a response. He's fine. He said the survey was taking longer than expected, that it's going to be a while before he can join you.
Oh, thank goodness. I was starting to fear the worst.
She was relieved. I was crushed. But how could I bring myself to tell her the truth? He said thanks for the blanket, that he'll never feel cold again.
Of course he won't. We made sure of that by retrieving the silk from Fondom.
Malfira's joy was contagious, but I still had to force myself to smile. I'm not sure if my act was convincing, but I knew, more than anything, that I didn't want to show her how sad I truly was. When her own grin softened, I knew my ruse had failed. If anything, my glaring lies had only cast a light on the truth she buried deep in her mind.
Oh, I can't thank you enough for delivering the blanket. I knew I couldn't rest until it was safely in his arms.
It clicked. Malfira knew what she was. She knew what I was. Hearing the sorrow evaporate entirely from her voice confirmed it. But now nothing bound her to the world, and she began to fade, like mist in the morning light. I watched, tears in my eyes, as the contours of her form blurred into abstraction.
Somewhere deep down, I knew I had died. It was the day he left for Dolly. I'm not sure what happened, but I just had to wait for him, hoping he would come sit next to me one more time. I've held on to that hope for what seems like an eternity.
Malfira, I'm sorry. I feel like I lied to you.
Oh, hush now. I bent the truth too, didn't I? I was glad for your company. Happy to have someone to chat with.
Malfira brought her hands to her chest and looked up to the infinite blue stretching above us.
Do you think he liked the blanket? Do you think he's warm now?
He was overjoyed. You found the best thread, stitched away in the sun, and poured your love into it. How could he not be? She smiled her last to me. more genuine and placid than ever before. Before we went to Dolly, I wanted to confirm my suspicions about Malfura. I checked with an airship engineer about Airbuses to the desert.
Dolly? No liner's been out that way for about 15 years now, on account of what happened and all.
He explained that the last ship to Dolly was filled with scholars and their families, leaving on a journey from which they'd never return. But 15 years. She'd been waiting 15 years to deliver her gift. I knew her isolation. I wouldn't let her wait any longer. Before I was ready to part ways with Malfura for good, I decided I needed to build a new grave for her and her beloved in Dolly. I realized that she had been right. With both sand and chill nipping at your skin, the desert nights really were cold and unfriendly. Wrapping the blanket around the new gravestone, I looked up at the full moon and saw 2 shooting stars falling through the night sky like tears down a cheek. And I knew, despite the chill, this was the perfect resting place. I turned to my pets. It's okay now. They'll never be apart again.
Well then, so long.